you are aware of Vanguard, but not in all the details. The slides will be shared later on, so I will not go into each detail of each slide. So Vanguard is a network of regions, and the key characteristics are here on this slide. We are a network of public authorities of regions based on our smart specialization strategies, from the knowledge that each one of us is smart in at least one topic, and our topics, that's the broad industrial innovation agenda, but we are not strong enough on ourselves to be globally competitive, because that's the ambition level we are aiming at. So we need to collaborate with other regions who have complementary expertise in the same fields. This political commitment is very important because part of the whole exercise is mobilizing public as well as private funding possibilities. And on the public side, we are talking about European funding, national funding, but also our own regional funds, which is coming mostly from the operational programs ERDF, but also the own innovation funds that we have within our regions. There are two very important presumptions in this whole setup of the network, which is that our smart specialization strategy is the result of a real Eurospeak entrepreneurial discovery process, so that political priorities have been set in a very good consultation with our companies. And of course, we are talking about interregional cross-border collaboration, so we are assuming that there is a positive attitude towards internationalization. We are a growing network of today, and I'm actually sometimes losing the count, but of 36 regions, and always a possibility for others to join directly or through a phase of observership. And if you see it on the map, it is more or less this this map of the Europe. What is very important is that we are an action-focused network. So we are not only a network of regions doing the traditional networking and lobbying towards European institutions and towards working on improving our own policies, but we're also developing large-scale projects ourselves. So we are very much content-driven network. I will develop that a little bit more. What we have been doing has been inspirational. The European Commission a number of years actually copied our way of working in the smart specialization thematic platforms. So the kind of large-scale projects we are developing today, and I will show you in a few slides what these are now also influencing other thematic collaborations in high-tech areas, low-tech areas, but also non-tech areas. So it's really about thematic collaboration independently of the topic, but with the aim to bring regions together to help our companies being more competitive. And as part of our work, together with other networks and initiatives, we also try to influence, of course, policies on the different levels, organizing meetings, publishing position papers, etc. What we are talking about today is actually what are these pilot projects within the Vanguard initiative, and why are they interested in the Green Deal call, and how can they contribute to making that one a reality? So basically, we are setting up large-scale demonstration projects, interregional cooperation projects between our companies and our knowledge institutes in a specific technology field or application domain. It is about bringing innovation faster to the market. So we are not a network stimulating more research, however important research is, it is key. We are trying to work on the take-up and the deployment of those innovations and those technologies. We believe very much in the added value of test and demonstration facilities, so open access environments where companies can develop, test, validate their new technologies. Why are these so important? Because they are very costly and companies don't have the means, the financial means to develop those demonstrators themselves. We're also not just trying to build projects in themselves, but it's more about building a roadmap, if you want, really developing a pipeline of projects and investment projects, all with the goal to accelerate market development. At this moment, we have 5 of those pilot projects in our portfolio, and actually preparing ourselves to introduce new ones next year. You see the topics here, and on the right side you see the yellow star saying dynamic landscape, because the main topics, 3D printing, efficient and sustainable manufacturing, bioeconomy, etc., they have remained the same over the last years, but the demo cases, as we call them, those sub-projects in light blue, that is a changing landscape of topics according to the needs that we and the signals that we get from our companies. Especially today, for example, in Atma energy and in bioeconomy, I believe, also in nano pilots, I believe there's a big exercise going on today to reconfigure those demo cases and start a few new ones based on a number of studies we did ourselves to really respond to the industry needs. It is these demo cases, as we call them, which are actually the groups of companies and knowledge institutes which are really having this interesting look at the Green Deal, because to see how these possibilities from the Green Deal calls can make them progress. This is the explanation on these demo cases. I think this is pretty easy. Then I think it's interesting for Sven as well, and for the new people in the call, that a small word on our methodology. What do we then actually do in these pilots? We have developed our own methodology, which is now also used in those other smart specialization partnerships that I mentioned that are existing. Learn, connect, demonstrate, and commercialize. So basically in the learn phase, we develop clearly what the topics are we are working on, and we are mapping all the players in the value chain we are talking about. The moment we have them in the picture, we organize meetings to make sure these partners connect, so that these demonstration cases get defined and start being elaborated. Those elaborations are then the demonstration phase. These are the real activities we are trying to develop, and for which a certain amount of public funding is needed, because, to use an expensive word, we are actually tackling part of a market failure. The moment these new technologies are then really validated, of course, we have actually helped our businesses to go forward, and then it's up to them to commercialize the things we have helped developing on their own means. By that, we evolve from an industry-inspired activity base, so based on the political priorities of our regions, but as a result of a consultation with the company base, towards the industry-driven activities we are doing ourselves within the Vanguard pilots, and then at the end, really industry-owned results. Like that, we move on the line on these learn, connect, demonstrate, and commercialize phases. So we are working for industry, but we do have a need for public funding and investments. And our big question and hope, of course, is that the new period of EU funding instruments will help us in making that reality come true. We are fully aligned with the EU's strategic orientations, of course, on digitalization, also on sustainability. And I think I can say on behalf of all the pilots that we are here to contribute to make that political priority a reality. So that was my short introduction of Vanguard and its pilot projects. I don't know, Dasko, if we take questions now, or that maybe we just integrate it later after the presentation by Sven.
Thanks, Wim, a lot, very informative. And yeah, thanks, Wim, a lot, very informative. Also for those, of course, who are not directly involved with Vanguard yet. Maybe this will trigger someone to join or cooperate or whatever. I think if there is any question, please raise it now. Of course, later on as well. It's possible. I don't have any question in written because I suggest, as I put it as SMS here, please do ask questions in written, so it's easier for us to organize the whole event. Of course, your hand if there's something really urgent to ask immediately or so, but please write a question so we will pose it then forward, and it will be easier to run this event. We don't have any questions right now, but please, if we have any, Wim is still here. Wim, are you going to stay during the whole event?
Yes, I will be here all the time.
Okay, so then I suggest, because we don't have any questions yet, I suggest we move forward. We have here our colleague from DG RTD, European Commission, Sven Schade. Sven, thanks for joining us. I think you managed to upload your presentation, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, it's quite a big one, so to say, but I think it's the core of our event, and we're looking forward. I saw a presentation already, by the way, for those who are listening. This presentation is already on our webpage, so you can look up there for it. And Sven, the floor is yours. Thanks for joining us again.
Darko, thanks for the invitation. I already learned quite a lot just by the introduction. I was in contact with the Vanguard initiative at the very early stage, but years ago, and then we lost contact in a way. Happy to be back into reconnecting. You will find some things I tell pretty interesting and close to your heart, and others maybe a little bit far away from the thinking. We will break in the middle for a short discussion if possible, sure. Because otherwise you will get into some sort of fatigue, I guess. Okay. The first part will be basically a quick introduction into the political background, which is important to understand if you are interested. I turn my video off probably. Oh, come on. If it works on your side, please give me a signal because I get bad connection signals.
It works.
It works. Okay. So in the first part, the political background on Green Deal. In a second part, then the Green Deal call with some orientations, but without going into the details. I have made available the presentation in a PDF format, which is more extensive than what I present here. So you find in particular in the political part, the links to the respective initiatives and some description of the call titles in the second part. If you want to understand Green Deal and the Green Deal call, you have to think back 2 years, basically the time when we were drafting the Horizon Europe proposal and the time before the European election. The important thing to recognize is that we are no longer attending a climate change, but we're in the middle of it. Yeah, we are in the middle of a deep ecological crisis, which hits different industries already now. We had 2 years in a row a situation that the Rhine became so dry that basically the value chains of German and French chemical industry were interrupted because there was not enough water. We had in the middle page on the front line, in the upper line, a situation on the 1st of May in electricity prices that were negative most of the day. On the other hand, we have social movements which show that they want an ecological transformation, the Fridays for Future foremost. They are asking for a secure living space for the future generations, whereas very immediately Gilets jaunes is asking for a social transformation. And they say, sorry, the transformation to a clean economy has to be socially just. And we framed our work in the last years before COVID very much on this idea of societal development goals, sustainable development goals, which guided a lot of the thinking and how to achieve these sometimes competing objectives. That was the situation. We went into the European Parliament elections slightly more than a year ago. After the elections, the incoming commission found itself with three challenges. One, the political one, the European Parliament got much more diverse. So the traditional majority in the middle of Social Democrats and Conservatives did not hold. It's no longer there. They have to extend broader. They have to discuss on the one side more the role of the EU vis-à-vis the member states, and then on the other side be clearly more greener, yeah, and take green thinking on board and transformative thinking on board. Transformative thinking also related to digitalization. If you think about the studies of the redundancy of jobs of professions in the next 20 years, published, for example, in Oxford, let's say up to 75% of the jobs could simply disappear due to digitalization, and that is not manual labor, but these are high qualified jobs. And the third thing, what is the place of Europe in a changing world order, where two countries, China and the US, are closely knit together, but they have completely different societal models. So where is Europe in this in this tandem? Where is the space? It was a signal of the Commission President Ursula von der Leyen that after just 10 days in office, she presented the European Green Deal as the first big initiative and as the priority of work for the first priority of work for the Commission. It was important to recognize that this is not a green agenda. Yeah, she presented it as our European growth strategy. So it is no longer that alternative between a green policy, an ecological transformation, or economic growth. That as a baseline for policy making, this has simply disappeared, and the European Green Deal is an economic and a green strategy, or put it the other way around. What many people heard about the Green Deal, but they were not so aware of the tremendous pace in which the Commission made proposals related to this European Green Deal in the weeks and months to come, up till we hit, you see here slightly in the background, this COVID crisis. So I want to quickly show you these, to show you how serious the Commission is in implementing this over its period in office. So just 4 weeks after the Green Deal, European Green communication, just before Christmas, it was published the Annual Sustainable Growth Strategy 2020. That sounds pretty boring, but it is doing something very fundamental, and because it's so special here, it didn't get the public attention it might have deserved. The Annual Sustainable Growth Strategy is the revised European semester process. In the European semester, the Commission is giving advice to the formulation of economic policy to the member states. This economic policy advice in the past was formulated as financial markets, balancing of public budgets, structural reforms to create competitiveness, and only since 2018 a social pillar was included. So pretty traditional economic policy framing. Now, what the Annual Sustainable Growth Strategy, or the revised European semester, aims at reboot a growth model, focusing on a sustainable, inclusive economic model that will put people and climate first. And they use the expression of competitive sustainability in the center of the focus, in the center of the growth model. The term is not very well defined because it's very difficult to do so. Yeah, but what is important, it extends the traditional 3 pillars of sustainable development, so the environmental dimension, the social sustainability, the fairness dimension, and the productivity, so the economic sustainability, with a fourth leg, the stability of the financial sector, the stability of the sound public finance. So suddenly here, this model of competitive sustainability has the three traditional legs plus financial sound financial systems, and together they make up this competitive sustainability, which is the core of will be the core of advice to formulate economic policies in the member states. That is something which, for your regional dimension, for your national dimension, can be something which is pretty groundbreaking, to think really in terms of a green transition and not in trade-offs to be made. That annual sustainable growth strategy was then followed up by a whole series of communications which related to the European Green Deal, and you find the links in the PDF version. The first one, the European Sustainable Europe Investment Plan and the Green Deal Investment Plan, which carved out this special area of just transition, the Just Transition Fund. That happened immediately after the Christmas break, mid-January. In early March, the publication of a proposal for a European climate law, which would embed in law the ambition of becoming climate neutral by 2050. Very important for research policy making, because it gives research policy a long-term vision of where to go. Very often research and innovation is asked to develop something immediately and change the world, which by nature is not what research and innovation can do. A week later, 10th of March, the publication of the new industrial strategy for Europe, which includes a new circular economy action plan. The circular economy action plan being very ambitious, in particular, notably in 5 sectors. And for example, they're proposing a work on a right to repair for electronic devices, where the immediate reaction from the US a day later was, oh my goodness, this will change the business models of the ICT industry. If Europe would introduce the right that the consumer has functioning software as long as the hardware functions, interesting model, completely breaking with the past. Similar in the textile industry, the proposal to apply eco-design criteria to fashion. Yeah, so there are very groundbreaking ideas in these publications, which very often are not in the media attention, but which are the ground for our calls. And if you want to respond to the calls, it's good to know these documents and to know the ideas which are launched there. Then COVID hit. We had a slight delay in the publication of the Farm to Fork and the biodiversity strategy. It was just 4 weeks, so we continued working. What is still to come is the chemical strategy, which also might have some pretty interesting ideas for, in particular, areas or regions with an important chemical industry, but also the downstream using chemicals. The last publication in this row was basically, you are pretty aware of it, end of May, the recovery plan and the recovery fund, with a link to this mentioned European semester process, that one can expect that that this recovery funding would be made available and would be linked to the economic policy advice which comes out of the semester process. As an outcome of the COVID crisis, the hottest topic in town in April, May was basically how can we link the crisis recovery to the Green Deal. It shall not be a back to normal, so reverting to what we had before, but it has to be the opportunity to a renewal and a jump forward. A renewal and jump forward in terms of the objectives of the European Green Deal. So the question was how, and nobody really can say how to do this based on a blueprint. On the one hand, we had the proposal for a revised MFF coming out there end of May. On the other hand, this next generation EU, the proposal for this recovery instrument, notably in support of recovery of transition in the most COVID-affected regions. And in this framework, we also wrote and worked on the European Green Deal call, which is the last call of Horizon Europe, which we will do after short questions break. Daško? Are there any questions so far? Did we
I don't see any hands raised. I'm just going through all the participants. No.
No? If you are not
I don't see any, no.
Any questions from your side, Daško, perhaps, that you want to connect to something? If not, I just continue.
I think, Sven, do you hear me?
Yes.
I had some problems with connection, actually, you know. We have more than 100 people registered at certain moments, so it's huge interest for that, obviously. And when we started, it was like 50 people. Now, during your presentation, we came up to 100. And I was actually out of the connection for a few minutes.
Oh, sorry.
So, do you have any questions from the audience, please? Please write them down, as I said. That's the best way to do it. Okay, you can raise your hand as well. But this is more, let's say, strategic part that you introduced, Sven, how everything evolved coming to this. Well, if not, look, let's continue. I mean,
let's continue.
Yeah, let's continue.
So in the second part, I want to give you an introduction into the Green Deal call, what is Horizon 2020 call in support of the European Green Deal. That call was basically announced in the mentioned investment strategy paper from early January, but only with a very short sentence somewhere to say, in support of the Green Deal call, the Commission aims at making €1 billion available for research and innovation actions. What we basically did is we scratched together all remaining funds from Horizon 2020. It's the last year of operation of Horizon 2020. So this money had to be used, and normally it would have been used for adding up, funding additional projects in existing calls. Here we acted differently and we said, okay, let's aim for 1 billion and do something in support of the Green Deal. Now, by design, the call reflects very much the Green Deal communication. So basically, you see in the block areas here, the vertical ones, this is exactly how the Green Deal communication is made up. To give the signal that we are really in support, we are really we are taking parts of this, and we are under these headings. We are taking a part which is specifically suited, or which we think is specifically suited for R&I actions at a short term. We complemented this with 3 horizontal areas. One more about strengthening the knowledge, which is really more scientific data type activities, which are more of a cross-cutting nature. A second one very much focusing on citizen. We were looking into the United Nations Sustainable Development Report 2019, which had the topic of the role of science in transformation, in transitions. And there was a strong plea which was taken up by the Council as advice to us, a strong plea for using all triggers in the transformation, meaning science and technology, finance, governance, and individual and communal action. So this last dimension of individual and communal action is very often forgotten, the question of behavioral change on individual level, but also the level of how communities shape transformations. Communities meaning really the citizen. And we put these into this 10th area with some interesting projects. The 11th area is the international cooperation, with basically one topic on a EU-Africa collaboration. As you are more an industrial-led initiative, definitely the block pillars, the domains, the areas 1 to 8 are probably the more interesting for you. We have applied a very open communication strategy for this, because we knew that under these circumstances at the moment, we could not talk to the stakeholders the normal way, meaning in meetings, in conferences which are organized. So what we did is we put the first text drafts online, and we waited for feedback from stakeholders. I don't know if some of you have perhaps responded to that. It was a very good experience, and you still find these drafts online. They didn't include a budget, but they pretty much showed our ideas, our thinking. And we will now update this already before an official publication of the call. So you can, if you look in the web, look for Green Deal, European Green Deal research activities, you are guided immediately to the website, where you will find these topics individually. So there are around 20 topics, and it would not make sense to present them one by one. What I do is, here you find the titles in the PDF versions. I give you some highlights to perhaps spark your interest. We have a very strong focus on innovation and demonstration activities. This would play very much in your favor. Sometimes in very big projects. So there is one topic on green ports and airports, which is not looking at the moving equipment in the ports, but which is more looking into the green operations of the facility. So circular economy in airports, alternative fuels, infrastructures in ports and airports, integration of biodiversity considerations in ports, for example, which cover very large areas. So all that which could make ports and airports operation greener. This individual project there would have a size of around 20-25 million euro for one project engaging 3 ports or airports. So pretty large demonstration projects to put things in place. The same is true for offshore renewable energies. There was quite some debate about this. Initially, it was offshore wind only, then it was all offshore energies, demonstrating, further developing them. And ultimately, it was also the request not only to work offshore, but also to have a similar topic for inland renewable energies. Another very big demonstration project topic, carbon cycling in industry. How can CO2 be captured and directly used in an adjacent installation? A fourth very big demonstration project, a 100 megawatt electrolyzer for the production of hydrogen in one installation, which would be about 5 times the capacity of the biggest installations at the moment. And also the integration of the resulting hydrogen in direct use in the vicinity. So here, one group of projects, very technological oriented demonstration activities, not much integration of value chains or of societal aspects into it, community aspects. A second group of topics is around, has to thinking around value chains. And in these value chains, a common thing is in these 5 topics, location matters. So one wants to demonstrate something at a particular location, but one has to do so in the traditional context and the participation rules of Horizon 2020. Meaning, on the one hand, local value chains, on the other hand, transnational participation in the concrete project. As you presented the Vanguard initiative, you seem to be very fit to work with this, which I always find a little bit counterintuitive. The topics, however, there are not what you would probably expect or would have desired in this setting. We have one very good, very nice topic on value chains around wildfires. So we saw basically wildfires in the last year spreading up to the north of Sweden, where they had never happened in that magnitude before, and the catastrophic ones notably in Portugal. So it's about wildfire early detection, wildfire prevention by better land management, and wildfire combating through better equipment. Yeah? And these three parts are separate subtopics in a way, but they shall be integrated and cross-reference each other and ideally work together. A second topic is on ecosystem restoration. Definitely ecosystems are local. Rather big projects are asked here in the range of 16 to 25 million euro to scale up ecosystem restoration and to understand how successful scale up can happen. So that, I guess, could not, it's both for terrestrial ecosystems and for marine ones, but it is in some way then connected to the agriculture. You have to work with the farming and the agricultural technology community in that. A third topic of that kind is a regional demonstration of circular value chains. That speaks for itself what it should be. It should be different value chains in demonstrating different circular value chains in different economic environments. The fourth topic of that kind is farm to fork. So here the idea is from the agricultural production at the very beginning to the shift to a more healthy diet with the consumers. And here, along 5-6 steps in the middle, projects which demonstrate the innovation always at that particular step. So in the production, in the avoidance of food waste, in the change of dietary behavior. As I said, we have a strong role for citizen and communities. So the areas 9, 10, the wildfires topics, the farm to fork topics are all opportunities for basically strong citizen and community integration. If that is of an opportunity might be an opportunity for some of you. What we do not have in this in these topics is a strong SME or startup orientation. There are opportunities for SMEs. I would notably mention here the EU-Africa topic for energy demonstration projects in Africa. The project sizes are not very big, and an SME or startup with good connections in Africa may be particularly suitable to implement these projects. We have some opportunities around the construction sector in the topic, the renovation wave. We have some for startups related to sensors, one on pollution topic, one on empowering citizen campaigns based on sensoring, and something on end user products and services for climate mitigation and adaptation. But overall, that is not much. And the advice to the SME community would be more to look for niches and claim niches, bigger consortia. Why are we so confident of not saying this had not a very strong SME orientation? We had linked to the European Green Deal and a special cutoff date for the European Innovation Council in May with a budget of more than 300 million euro, where SME startups could propose their own individual projects supporting a Green Deal. So that goes on top of the 1 billion. And so we were looking here for something different. What I thought I might be quickly looking into this area one only, because that's something where you as regional entities, as regional networks, might be particularly interested in. I was mentioning the wildfires topic already, the topic towards climate neutral and socially innovative cities. 53 million, but in this topic, but it shall basically be only in 1 or 2 projects, which then in the majority are supporting much smaller projects in the range of 0.5 to 1.5 million in cities. Yeah, so here it's more an administrative process or a networking process to say, hey, we are reaching out to a number of cities to launch pretty small actions on climate adaptation, on how to make cities neutral, climate neutral in the long run, and how to prepare for the much larger mission on climate neutral cities that is coming in Horizon Europe. The topic 1.3, in contrast, is direct grants of a larger size for climate resilience innovation packages for EU regions. So can regions start thinking about transition roadmaps for climate neutrality and basically build technology roadmaps into that? And that sounded something where I think in your introduction that might be pretty interesting eventually for some of you who would be interested in going into this climate neutrality on a regional level as a strategic orientation for the region. The area 2 I was mentioning, these are the big demonstration projects on offshore and land-based renewable energy and on the 100 megawatt electrolyzer. That's really hard technology. I skipped the other topics in detail. I was mentioning you some orientations, and you have them available in the PDF version. The timeline, we have just launched the last internal process yesterday, so we will be able to keep our announced adoption by publication mid-September. We will continue to communicate the progress pretty openly, as we do now here. The official proposal writing period, in a way, when you really can work on the proposal online, starts with the R&I days, 22nd, 24th of September, and the project proposals have to be received by end of January. So it's not too generous time, but it's still, if you start now, a good time. Evaluation of project starts in spring 2021. So if you have a very good consortia, convincing and everything in place administratively, the project could start in summer next year. We have a special situation that we have to sign every grant agreement we want to make by the 31st of December 2021. That's a special thing because it's the end of the MFF and we can only extend the grant signatures by 1 year, meaning to the 2021. Projects which are not able to sign by that date fail. No other possibility. We cannot postpone this. So if you want to work with reliable partners, yeah, or push them to get their things in order. For example, a simple name change or something like that may block a signature. So here we have to pay. You have to pay particular attention if you have a good proposal and then it fails for these stupid administrative grounds. It would be a pity. I was asked to add to this to give an insight into the funding landscape of where would be other funding opportunities. That is pretty difficult because it's a pretty complex environment and which is very fluid at the moment because we are exactly in this situation of not having a stable MFF proposal or the agreements of the member states concluded about how financing for the next years. What I want to mention, nevertheless, to give you a quick overview and to highlight to you some things that matter. What matters very much is the sustainable finance initiatives. so far, green financing is a marginal share of the overall investment that is happening in our economies. And many are making a claim to fund, to invest green, where there is no protection in this word. So there is a lot of work in the Commission on taxonomy for sustainable investment. The investment plan announced to make available during the next in the coming decade, 1 trillion euro for the ecological for the sustainability transformation. And this work on a taxonomy is an essential part in it. It would define what is such a transformative investment, what is a green investment. In the investment plan, you also find the Just Transition Fund, which has some regions which are identified, the regions which have a particular high barrier towards an ecological transformation, so coal and steel regions, for example. There's a special fund for them, but the regions will be identified, and the regions can work then on with this funding, very much like the regional funding would normally do. We have the InvestEU transition scheme, which will be built into the InvestEU program, and we have a special public sector loan scheme at the EIB for transition. So the public sector transition to sustainability. These three elements shall make together 100 billion for the next years, and they shall be complemented with technical assistance. So something to watch both on the taxonomy side and so more the intellectual side and the hard cash. That is just a picture about the Green Deal investment plan, how to mobilize this 1 trillion investment. Just to follow up, you see the InvestEU as a major element here. You see the EU budget, so the different parts of the EU budget which contribute to this to transition. The new transition mechanism as an element of 100 billion, and then national co-financing via the structural funds. To some degree, the COVID crisis did not make this redundant, but dwarfs it in the funding. The recovery instrument, you have heard this, is proposed with a volume of 750 billion euro, yet it is proposed to have some national allocations and some strengthening of particular relevant programs in the MFF, in the multi-annual financial framework, so our financial envelope. The majority of this recovery instrument will be possibly organized via national allocations, but there is evidently a big discussion about the allocation key, where there is no vision where this will end. Yeah, so how is the money divided here to regions and allocated to countries? What is, however, known is if we have this allocation key and if the member states agree on this recovery instrument, the project and program development has to be done very fast, and it has to be agreed with the European Commission. So it's basically, the idea is to have a contract. The EU takes the money on the financial market and provides it to the member states based on an agreement, on a written agreement. So the regions have to come up with programs of this transformative nature, not only green, but also digital transformative nature, very, very fast. And in one way or another, that will likely be looked or has a link to this European semester annual sustainable growth strategy. So coming back to this very first, this competitive sustainability would most likely reappear here, at least from the Commission side. We would like to see that, or it would be the connecting point would be via these economic policy advice from the Commission. The second pillar here is strengthening recovery and transition related programs. Horizon Europe is proposed to get a top up of 14 billion euro on the 90 billion that were proposed so far. These 14 billion euros should be spent in the large majority within 2021 and 22 in some core areas. And industrial transformation would be definitely one of these core areas. So in the two financial years, 21-22, so meaning into 2003, there will be particularly good opportunities for demonstration projects for ecological transformation, industrial transformation, and the health sector. So that might be something for you, an outlook where you can lobby, where you can prepare for, if you are not ready to respond directly to the Green Deal call. And then final thing, the programs, the next generation programs starting from 2021 are still to a large degree under preparation. So we have the regional development funds, which will build in these greening and transitioning elements. We will have Horizon Europe, notably with the missions. I did not talk about that. That would be a separate one. And the European Innovation Council, this direct support to startup and SME. And we have the European Climate Innovation Fund, which has just where the first call for large projects, here demonstration projects for clean energy, or climate mitigation and climate adaptation technologies is just open until end of October. The Climate Innovation Fund will fund projects very close to the market. So it has a particularly calculation of eligible costs in the grant. So it's not the equipment as such, it's basically the additional costs and operational costs, additional capital and operational costs, which are which will the base of the calculation of the grant. So these three are definitely things where you can have to look in the future on how can we capitalize, how can we connect the Vanguard initiatives and your demonstration and the demonstrators you have in mind. The last one of these, a little bit further away from the activities you describe, the Common Agricultural Policy first and second pillar. It was agreed 2 or 3 weeks ago that the CAP proposal will only, the new CAP will only start in 2023 to allow to rewrite it more fundamentally and to basically further develop the proposal for the CAP that was meant to start with the other programs. So here we have a delay of 2 years and still an opportunity to work very much on transformation in the agricultural sector, for the agricultural sector. That it was from my side. I want to invite you for the Research and Innovation Days, 22nd to 24th of September. It is now meant as a planned as a fully virtual event, and it will provide matchmaking opportunities for the Green Deal call in one way or another. That's why it's here to be decided. We don't know how these look like exactly, but we want to use this opportunity to discuss the call as an information day and then provide the opportunity for project development and matchmaking. Thanks a lot. I end this and hopefully I'm back.
Thanks, Sven. That was great. As I thought, we already have some questions. Concreter you were, more questions we got. Yeah, so the first question actually that we got was how consistent is the competitive sustainability model if we continue to measure our economies using only the GDP? Well, I guess there are some other indicators, but Sven, what can you add to this one?
Correct. It's not consistent. Yeah, but we are working on that, and the measuring of sustainable competitiveness or competitive sustainability, we link in the process seems to be linked in some way to the Sustainable Development Goals reporting. Yeah, and the question is, we have many indicators, but do we get them into the public attention?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good question. Next one, I mean, also, it's how do you plan to enhance the participation of innovative SMEs in those large projects? That's a good one. I think the SMEs will be, you know, will have some difficulties how to really participate, especially from smaller countries.
Yeah, I completely agree. There is a gap. I would have some ideas to do this. Unfortunately, we did not touch the participation rules for Horizon 2020 in this call because it would have been insane. First of all, we had hardly time to do this call development, and it would have been it's the last call of Horizon 2020. So everything, the focus of the legal development, of the instruments development is very much on Horizon Europe and not for that last call of the old program. So for this call, we didn't bother about it, and we simply, as I said, quite frankly, the SME participation was not a topic in this development. And we know the problems, and this location-based approach in some of the topics is something to bring SMEs in, definitely. Yeah. But for me personally, why do I need a transnational partnership if I have a location-based approach? Yeah. Could not the European added value be demonstrated in a different way and say we have here 5 local projects which are all independent, which work in different environments, and then we have a joint European learning. Yeah, and we create the European added value in this way. But that's a it sounds pretty reasonable, but it's a very tough discussion because the mindset is about collaboration. European collaboration is the European added value. Yeah, and that hinders then bringing SMEs in because if you have to integrate 5 regions, you do this with the big entities. And if you include 2 more SMEs from the region, you already have a project of 15 organizations.
Okay, we could discuss this because, let's say, Horizon Europe and Accelerator, for example, I wouldn't say it really is really in favor of SMEs, you know, because, you know, SME instrument had possibility of consortiums, but let's say Accelerator is just one company bidding. But okay, we have additional question here. What about the clusters? It goes with this discussion as we just started.
It's the same story as always. If you are a cluster which has a legal entity, you can participate just like any other legal entity. If you are a cluster which is clearly not for profit, has a not for profit entity, you should even be able to get the better co-funding rates. If you are a cluster organization, that is profit oriented, you unfortunately only get the lower one in the innovation actions. And if you are a cluster but have no legal entity, unfortunately you need somebody who is the legal entity for you. Yeah, so it's more a cluster members, but you are eligible just like normal. No difference to what we do. What we did in
the problem is the clusters which have no legal sovereignty, so to say, and this might be problem also with some vanguard, let's say, partners. Okay, we have additional question here. There are additional 14 billion euros for Horizon Europe in 21-22. Will this be put into particular Pillar 2 clusters, or will be there a separate part to the work program focused on specific health and industrial transformation calls?
You are exactly mentioning the 2 options which are currently under discussion. Now we got imagine suddenly you are a public administrator and you are said, come on, please spend 40 billion in 2 years, and you were just in the planning process which did not integrate this. Yeah, so we are currently discussing exactly these options. But what do we do? Do we make a sort of a separate program out of it to have a little bit more time, or do we integrate it already in the strategic planning and programming, but which is pretty advanced in by now, because we were asked to start this program soon, and suddenly we have to change and adjust, double the budget, to double the budget.
And it's somehow connected to this one. Would the inclusion of cascade funding for SME be an option to ensure their participation?
Sure.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the cascading funding or the regranting is a standard instrument, yeah, and it can be applied by any project, yeah, that is proposed. So I take here, sometimes we are asking for it. I was mentioning this topic 10, well, what is it? No, 1.2, the cities, yeah, where cascade funding is asked to be implemented. But if somebody would come with a in the ecosystem restoration topic and say, look, we have to have, we are doing the scaling of successful ecosystem restoration schemes via cascade funding. This is the thing, this is the way we think to do it is best. Perfect. Yeah. You can integrate, you can put it into every proposal.
Sven, this question is mine, the following one. You were mentioning identifying regions, that it's quite, urgent already. I mean, for this transitional fund of 100 billion. So how this identifying will be done?
I don't know.
Are there any news about that already? No?
No, openly, I don't know. I didn't look into it. This is basically, the only thing I know based on statistical data, including the cases of COVID cases. But
Okay.
not only, because it was in the media, it was that people calculated that Bulgaria would get basically by GDP the biggest share. So it has something to be with cohesion element and plus being affected by
COVID.
By COVID. But I don't know details.
Okay. We have the question: how long will the Green Deal policy last?
Yeah, until 2050, when we are climate neutral. That's the maximum.
Well, for sure for this budget period, right? That's for sure.
For sure for this budget period, respectively for this commission. If we take the shortest, it would only, in inverted commas, apply to this commission, and the next one could do something different. But unfortunately, by then, this problem will not have gone away, and it will stay with us. Yeah, this transition will take much, much longer.
Yeah, because some goals are very far away, so
yes.
It needs maybe more commissions, and more budget periods to really go for it. There's a question. Aitor asked, if I understood correctly, a new draft of the call will be uploaded in the EC webpage before the official publication of the call. When can we expect this new uploaded draft to be online?
As soon as possible.
Okay,
so we yesterday concluded the internal discussions about the text. So we are sending today the text to the member states. It would be impolite to the member states if they have it, if they see it on the Commission webpage, the public earlier than they receive it. So in the next days.
Of course, thank you. Well, I would have some more questions, maybe 2, 3, but we are running a little bit out of time. Sven, that was very, very informative, really. We got also a lot of questions, as you saw. I'm sure some people will still have some questions, but I mean, your presentation is uploaded on our webpage, and of course, I'm sure we can always contact you by mail or something if there is any specific question, and we got up to it. Okay, thanks a lot again.
I stay with you to listen to the cases.
Okay, we have here 3 cases. I would really ask all 3 speakers to keep their timing. So we set maximum 10 minutes. I'd prefer even maybe 8 minutes to have some space for maybe some questions. So we have our first speaker here.
Just to interject, Maurizio Bettiga has asked to speak first, prior to Marcello.
Okay. If that's okay with others, that's okay with me. So we have our first speaker, Maurizio Bettiga from Lombardy Green Chemistry Association. And he will have a presentation on green and sustainable mobility, which is, of course, one of the, I would say, very important areas that we know. And Maurizio, the floor is yours. Please keep within 10 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation, and my apologies to the other speakers for So I'm politely stick myself first. Unfortunately, I have a hard stop at 12:30. So I will focus with my presentation on one specific project on green, which is a project that has been within the bioeconomy pilot of the Vanguard initiative. So we are still with members of the family here. So can you just quickly confirm with the sign of your hand that you're seeing my screen?
Yes, we see
Yeah,
it.
Okay,
everything's
very
okay.
good. Very good. So this
Go ahead,
is,
Maurizio.
thank you very much. This is a project regarding the implementation of a value chain from agricultural waste to road transportation via liquefied biomethane. So we all know that there's a big number of trucks on the roads in Europe. It's 6.5 million trucks, and most of them are running on diesel fuel. The vast majority of trucks are running on diesel, and they are responsible for an enormous amount of not only greenhouse gas emissions, but also particulate matter and nitrogen oxides. So there is an answer to this, which is technologically and industrially mature, and it is the use of, for example, methane as a fuel. So methane is available in compressed form, which is called CNG, compressed natural gas, or also in liquefied form, liquefied natural gas. Liquefied natural gas has the advantage of course, as you can imagine, having a much higher density, which makes it suitable under under special storing conditions for fairly long distance freight. Today, there are trucks on the market by several European manufacturers that can use liquefied natural gas as a fuel and reach a range in excess of 1,000 kilometers. So it makes a fuel which is reasonably suitable for hauling goods on road. It has enormous environmental advantages. Liquefied natural gas truck cuts emissions of CO2 by 15%, nitrogen oxides 70%, particulate matter up to 99%, and these figures are about fossil liquefied natural gas, which is fossil methane. Of course, the figures, especially those about carbon dioxide, are even better if the methane is not coming from fossil reserves, but is coming from anaerobic digestion, from the treatment of different kind of waste. So here is, for example, a snapshot of the liquefied natural gas filling stations and trucks in Italy, which is a country in Europe that has already a fairly large fleet of vehicles running on compressed fuel. I just want to draw your attention on the column that says LNG and its growth compared to CNG. So there is a number of vehicles that are running on liquefied natural gas on the road, and this number is increasing very, very fast because the technology is mature and fossil liquefied natural gas is readily available. It is another story when we want to create a value chain from the production of methane, of biogas, all the way to road transportation, which are, by the way, two very harsh markets when it comes to margin and profit. So the project I am presenting you today is an example of transition from diesel to liquefied natural gas to liquefied biomethane, with advantages, of course, for the environment, economic benefits for the road transportation company, but also for the agricultural sector, which is the one that has the highest potential for the production of biomethane, and also creation of value in terms of sustainability for the real end users of this, which are those purchasing the transport and the freight service. So companies distributing consumer goods. Sorry, just a moment. Okay. The project sees the primary role of a small transport company located in northern Italy, which is called Maganetti SPA. And Maganetti has put a great deal of effort in the creation of a new daughter company, LNG Valtellina, which is a transport company entirely running on methane, either bio or fossil. And this is a very quick, I will not go through all the steps, but just to show you that it was possible already in 2015 to equip the fleet of the company with liquefied natural gas powered trucks. And then if we go towards the end of this effort, we have that the company has undergone a cooperation with an agricultural cooperative. It's a cattle farmer, for the creation of a entirely new value chain from farmer to transporter for the production of liquefied biomethane. So we have this project which we have called SMB LNG, which sees the collaboration between different sectors of the value chain, and importantly now it is enjoying the support of the TAF, Technical Assistance Facility, to which it has had access thanks to the support of the bioeconomy pilot of the Vanguard initiative. So now the company is receiving support for the preparation of a professional business plan, which can be used to replicate this model, which, as you understand, is inherently local, as biogas is produced locally at the farm and cannot be distributed very far. So these are the actors. The two ones on the left are the main risk takers. The producer, which is an agricultural cooperative located in Piedmont, a region in northern Italy. And the one I like to call intermediate user, which is the freight company. I call it intermediate user because I like to think that the real end users are those distributing their goods, which are those purchasing the transport service, which has an environmental impact. This business model works on the two main actors sharing risk. So, of course, the transport company is committed to convert the fleet, purchasing new trucks, which can work with LNG or bio-LNG, and guarantee the purchase of liquid biomethane at fixed price for 12 years. On the other hand, the producer, the one to your right, will guarantee the production of a certified liquefied biomethane for at least 2,000 metric tons per year, and build, of course, the production liquefaction facility, but also the gas station, the distribution station, which will be available not only for trucks in the fleet of Maganetti, but to any third party that would like to refill suitable vehicles with liquefied biomethane. Today, the first facilities have built and they are starting, and thanks to the business plan in preparation, the goal is to expand this model to other regions. And this was my last slide, and I will take questions if there is any. Otherwise, you're welcome to contact me for questions or for your interest at a later stage. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Maurizio. Thank you, Maurizio.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Very interesting project. Do you have any questions here regarding this project? You have to leave now, right?
Well, I have to leave 12:30, but so now I'm sure I can do it, and I am very grateful.
Okay, if you, it would be very, useful if you could leave us the presentation so we could put it up on our webpage like the others.
I will for sure.
If there will be additional question, I'm sure people will contact you. Okay, let's go then to next presentation. I suggest we remain number 2 as number 2. So the next one would be Dragica Marin, circular economy in Slovenia, and she will introduce this strategic research and innovation platform on circular economy of Slovenia. Okay. Dragica, are you there? Please, the floor is yours.
Hello.
And please keep in 10 minutes. Keep your timing within 10 minutes.
I have a problem.
Yeah.
To put my presentation. Just a moment, please.
So if you see those circles below on your screen.
Yes, it's not a problem, but I have no connection. Just a moment, please. 1 minute, please.
Maybe we could go to the presentation of Marcello and then it's yours. What about that?
And not Drasko, as you prefer.
Ms. Martinic, what about if you go to Marcello presentation and then we put yours at the end? I suggest we go to Marcello presentation now. Dragica, to se vse sliši, ne? Je prav, da gremo zdaj naslednjo prezentacijo, pa ste potem vi zadnji, medtem pa predite. V redu?
V redu, hvala.
Ja, samo izklopite
mikrofon.
Just to confirm, so are we with Dragica now or with Marcello for the presentation?
Draško, may I? Hello?
Ja, Dragica, boste imeli prezentacijo sedaj? Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Okay, let's go on then.
Yeah.
But
Did you see my
please within
presentation?
10 minutes, please.
Yeah. Do you see my presentation?
Yes,
Yes,
we
we
do.
do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, let's go on.
Welcome from Slovenia, from Strategic Research and Innovation Partnership, Circular Economy. I would like to present very shortly what we are doing in the Slovenia on the field circular economy, and then we have got 3 different projects, proposals, or already this project are running this year or from the last year already. So as you see, the Slovenia has created under the smart specialization strategy also one part of the circular. In one of these parts is also the circular economy, and our main goal is to produce the new high-tech products and services, and also the sustainable technologies. So very shortly, who are our members? As you see, we are working as the quadruple helix model, as a new ecosystem, private partnership, and we are together companies, R&D institutions, NGO facilitators, users, and of course the state, which are support us. Our SRIP has prepared the action plan, business strategy for the collaboration, not just between different partners in Slovenia, but also abroad. And the most activities are research and development of the products, and also human resources, development, entrepreneurship, startups, internationalization. And here we have to think about circular economy, how we can close the loop, and of course, how we can put also digitalization, innovation, and ecosystem. Here you see our focus areas. We have 6 different focus areas. Most important are all together. So this is the interdisciplinary principle. And on the end, we would like to make, or we already made, some different circular business models. And here is the first example from the company Steklarna Hrastnik from Slovenia. And they prepared the e-bottle, a smart multi-component glass bottle. As you see, this is the solution for the smart packaging with the high quality glass materials. And they are put also together with IT, that means the digitalization. At the same time, the smart mobiles where we have possibilities to make the connection and look after the personalization, information security issue, and of course, all monitoring if you use this kind of the e-bottle. The most important part of innovation of this bottle is eco-design. That means they put eco-design already at the start, beginning with the research and then through the production and of course to the distribution on the market and connection with the users. And most important, this part of the project is that you can put this bottle back to the producer, so then we can talk about the totally reusable e-bottle in all these circular chain, I can say. So we're closing the loop with this part. And what is very important is also that we use a different adhesive produced from the biomass. This is the new challenge for the next generation of functional composites. So this is very short from this part. The next is also the project from the focus area secondary raw materials. The name is the waste as a resource of secondary raw materials. We call it very shortly poly circularity. The point of this project is industry symbiosis of secondary raw materials from the waste packaging of different waste. That's mean from the plastic, for example, or for the natural raw materials and so on. But on the end, we would like to make the collecting of this part, also make the optimization, also the logistic way of this, and of course, on the end, the waste traceability. What is important on this, one of the work packages also sorting and pre-treatment of waste packaging. And then after this, also at the same time, make the optimization of the process for two different kind of conversion from the chemical and biotechnological. Different packaging and these two intermediates for secondary raw materials. The next part of the activities of the project is industry application development from secondary raw materials for different kind of industry. For the chemistry, plastic industry production, for example, and we would like to make the production of gases and energy products. On the end, on this project, we will make also the new demonstration, demo pilot, which will be in Maribor, in our city. And the one of the partner, which is calling IOS, this is the Institute for the Environment and Sensors, which has already one demo pilot for the waste, textile waste treatment that was established under the project Resintex. That was also the Horizon 2020 project. And they will put also some new part of the demonstration, and then we will go two different demo pilots. That demo pilot is the first one in Slovenia, and I think also a little bit around on the European countries. And what is the special for these projects? That we will put also digital material passport for the secondary raw materials, and we will using the blockchain technology. A little bit the short presentation. We will put a new reactor for the chemical and biochemical decomposition, as you see. And this possibility is not just for the, as we will use the plastic waste, but also the others. That means the paper and textiles and so on. Here are the partners of this. And you see this, the circle where we put also the passport, how we can follow the whole phases where we put the raw materials and how then some of the partners using these materials. As you see all these phases, you see in this circle, so this circular value chain is totally closed. And the third one is the very important project from the Slovenia. This is cell cycle, which is also in the focus area biomass and alternative raw materials. The leader of this project is Pulp and Paper Institute from Ljubljana, and they have got 70 different companies from the industry and also from the research and development institutions. The topic of this project is to develop the new technologies and value chains, how we can put the biomass in different kind of the industry, or to make the recircle, we are a circle, and this is way how to optimize in one way and to make the new sustainable technologies and producers to lead to use different biomass composites, when we can be very, very close to the positive to environmentally part. And of course, what we would like to do, or they already done, to make new renewable materials and products. And of course, on the end, they have possibilities to reduce conversion biomass into the energy. So a little bit more what they are doing. On one side, we have the knowledge and technologies. They have three parts. That means the technologies, how they can use it in the industry. The second part is then to the economic way. On the third part is the social way. Because if we are talking about circular economy, we have to think of all these three aspects which are very important for the sustainability. Also, when we are looking under the European Green Deal and also under the new action plan for transition to the circular economy. As you see, we will put all these database on the different kind of using of the biomass. And what is very important is also advantage processes for the fraction of the biomass. On the end, we would like to make the new technologies in production, also in the paper production, of course, for which is very important, production the new kind of the fiber and also biocomposites. And on the end, these innovative technologies for the energy recovering of the waste materials flow. And on the end, if we are talking about this project, one part is also to develop the bio-based products and different components. As you see, green chemicals, and then also nanocrystalline cellulose or nanofibrillated cellulose and so on. On the other side, we have to think also with this project, how we create the new smart packaging with printed sensors, which is a very, very open space also on the market. And
Dragica, the timing, I have to remind you on timing.
Yes, this is the last one.
Okay.
Yeah, so very shortly, if you need some more connection, or do you have some more questions, you see my connection and you can send to Mr. Draško. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We got some questions in the meantime, but there are more questions for General European Commission regarding how SMEs could participate, or clusters without legal subjectivity and stuff like that. These are, I would say, quite general questions regarding how Horizon and Horizon Europe is organized, and how, let's say, European Innovation Council is organized, and those instruments, Accelerator and Pathfinder. Okay. Maybe if there's any question, do we have any hand up? Well, also this, of course, presentation will be uploaded on our webpage together with the. We recorded the whole event, so also this will be available on our webpage. I suggest we move to then the last speaker, who will present the case on. Just a second. Maurizio is here. Sorry, Marcello. Yeah. We have here Marcello Coledani from Polimi. So Marcello, please, the floor is yours. Please keep in 10 minutes if you can. But we'll leave some space for questions.
Okay, good morning to everybody. Good morning, Drasko. Do you see the full screen version?
Yes, we see it. Yes, everything okay.
Okay, good. So I will try to keep the presentation quite short and definitely in time. And I will give you an overview of the dairy manufacturing for circular economy partnership and how we think we can extract specific use case, a use case that can be suitable for the support in the Green Deal environment. So I come from Politecnico di Milano and I'm coordinating this interregional partnership since 5 years now. That has been a Vanguard ESM pilot demo case and also the Regio pilot action and recently also received support in a tough context. Okay, so the goal for today would be not to go too much in details of the specific projects we are planning for the Green Deal, or we are thinking about for the Green Deal, but is to stress the link between the overall Vanguard goal of establishing an interregional pilot network and the specific use case that will be potentially translated into a Green Deal proposal. So what is dairy manufacturing first? Well, in our view, the green dairy manufacturing includes the set of technologies, tools, and knowledge methods to recover, reuse, and upgrade functions and material from industrial waste and post-consumer products. So that's the key topic of our partnership. And of course, this is especially interesting because it combines environmental, social, but also economic dimension, as was recently pointed out by a study that is reported here. It is expected that about 2 trillion of incremental economic benefit is expected for Europe by 2030 if we have a stable transition to a circular model. And this would mean, of course, economic recovery and also competitive sustainability as an ultimate goal. So what are we proposing? What we are proposing in our network, in the regional network, is to create a network of pilot infrastructure that can altogether deliver services to companies, to end users in Europe on specific use cases so that the potential future private investments in industry innovation is de-risked through the use of these demonstration facilities. So this is the overall goal since the beginning of the Vanguard demo case on circular economy that we are proposing. So the goal would be to help the transition from TRL 7 to TRL 9 into industrial market uptake. So that's the overall goal. Of course, in this overall goal, we have an interregional partnership with specific infrastructure that has to be upgraded or built from scratch as a new infrastructure. And this network will be then able to provide services in different technology and product domains. Here you see some of the cross-regional use cases that we have very well defined, formalized, and also for which we have specific business cases. All these use cases include different regions, so the cross-regional approach is very important in these use cases. I will concentrate today only in one use case that is currently the most advanced and the one that we are thinking for this Green initiative. That is the first one on composite recovery. So in this specific use case, we have, as I said, different partners from different regions. Here you see the 5 regions that are currently involved in this specific use case on composites. Why composites and why this problem is very important in Europe? Well, because composites are getting more and more common in several applications, especially high-tech applications. But currently, we don't have any specific and large-scale possibility for handling this composite at the end of life. Currently in the market, they usually go and end up in landfill where possible. In any case, there's no sustainable route for reusing or recycling these composite materials. We are talking about glass and carbon fiber reinforced polymers in particular. just one example, these are the amount of end-of-life materials, composite materials coming expected in Europe from the wind energy and from the aeronautic sector. I would just concentrate on the first graph, wind energy. Well, if you see the slide, the picture in the top left, you can see that we are expecting about 70,000 tons of material to be collected at the end of life from wind energy systems in Europe. So 70 tons of material that without a solution that is competitive will end up in landfill, basically. And this is not a sustainable, of course, solution for this problem. So what we are handling, we are proposing in this use case is specifically to use a cross-sectorial approach for reusing this material as potential raw materials, secondary raw materials in different sectors, by using the fact that the composite requirements differ quite a lot in different sectors. So as you see in the bottom picture, I cannot go in details here, but you see the typical requirements for this composite material in different sectors where they are currently used. In the top part of this slide, you see the sectors that are mainly affected by this material. You see transport, construction, sport, leisure, electronics. These are the most typical sectors, but also naval marine industry is quite important for composites. Okay, so we don't start from scratch because we are dealing with projects that are quite TRL level already. So we are using, in this use case, the results of a project that is about to finish in 2021 that I'm coordinating, this fiber use project that involves 21 partners in Europe and is exactly focused on the topic I mentioned before. And within fiber use, we have been demonstrating the feasibility of our technical approach and value chain approach in different demo cases in different sectors. So you see some products that embed recovered materials, recovered composite that have already been produced and will be showcased in a big event in the next year. So we are mainly focusing on three strategies: mechanical recycling and reuse, thermal recycling, and then reuse in automotive and construction sector. And also we have a special, two special demo cases on the repair and remanufacturing of composite structures. So with all this set of technologies, bunch of technologies organized in the cross-sectorial value chain, we are planning to solve the problem of the composite recovery and reuse in different various sectors in Europe. So I will just make the story short because I would like to close in 8 minutes. Basically, we are in the phase of having demonstrated the feasibilities on some specific use cases, demo cases, but there is much more to do before being able to deliver the services to the wide industrial community in Europe. We can approach, of course, different sectors. We can even enrich the proposal, the solution with ICT solution supporting the connection between stakeholders in this circular value chain that is going to be established. We can validate the innovative processes that we have developed in different sectors, in different products, and in different specifically designed product cases in order to unlock several business cases in other sectors and in other regions. So basically, that's the idea of our project that we are working on. I think we are perfectly on time to go forward with this proposal. We are, as I said, closing now the task service to establish, to develop the business cases for all the potentially unlocked value chains. I would say that for this project, cascade funding, as was discussed before, could be extremely interesting for attracting users in specific new sectors in regions that are not currently part of the partnership as well. So that's basically the type of axis where we are moving to approach and to address the Green Deal challenge with this partnership. I think I can close here. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcello, a lot. Very interesting as well. Well, I would have directly one question. I mean, quite a lot of money needed for investments. How do you gonna tackle all that? I mean, to really go with it?
Well, as I said, I tried to stress, but the time was very short, the link between the Vanguard initiative cross-regional pilot activity that requires some funding for establishing these pilots and this network of pilots, of course, which is not intended to be directly supported in the Green Deal initiative. And then I concentrated on one use case, right? So the amount
on which one? On which one? That was also another question that I got from the audience. On which case or sector would you particularly focus?
Well, the case would be the one concentrated on composite that I explained.
Okay, okay.
So that's go.
And what are the next steps of the demo case on composites? That's also the question.
The next steps would be to extend to more sectors, to more product cases. So we need to go from TRL 6.7 to TRL 8, as currently mentioned in the Green Call. So it means unlocking several business cases in other sectors, because the amount of material that we will have at the end of life is pretty large. And the use cases, well, the prototypes that we have now are only, tackling a small portion of this big amount of material that would be turned into waste in Europe. So I think that we need to extend the network to demonstrate and de-risk specific business cases also in other product sectors.
Okay. And I have the question for Dragica from the audience. How do you plan to internationalize your or organize international cooperation for your projects?
Hello again. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank
Go
you very
ahead.
much. Yes. So with our projects, now we have just Slovenian partners, and we are looking for just for the e-bottle. Of course, we have got already the plans for the international market, but for the others too, we would like to make the new projects an international collaboration, because we think, for example, with the project polycircularity is very important also for the other partners, other countries with different partners, because the blockchain technology for the established or created the passport of the materials is very new. And until now, I know just the one project, that is the BIM, and also one example from the Netherlands. This is the Circle restaurant. This is in the Amsterdam. And they've got also a new, for the construction and demolition waste, also the new platform. So I visited these companies and also the partners of this project, which already finished, and you can visit also the restaurants, which is totally circularity with the materials and also with the interior and at all. So we would like to make the connections also for the plastic waste, which is quite new. And I think as we knew at the moment, we totally one example only in the European Union. So we are looking for the partnership and to make the research more, also not just for the secondary raw materials, but also for the different other virgin materials, how we can use it also then also the secondary raw materials.
Okay, thank you for this answers. Of course, this is also opportunity for many people to see what you are doing. So maybe somebody will be interested in what you're doing and in some cooperation. There is also textile that you are very active. Actually, one of your partners, one of your members is very active in that area, and we are also helping them to get some international cooperation on that. So these are all very good and promising activities, I would say. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Maybe I can say just for this, with your connection, we can make also the real studied visit, for example, and to see this pilot. both pilots, I can say, and we'll be fine if we make after this also the connection for the other projects. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, we are slowly coming to our end. We have one question from Matej, I think, which was regarding, well, it was more question about it was systemic legal question regarding who can participate in Horizon. How can SME participate, or consortia, or let's say a cluster? We discussed this a little bit. I don't think we can go into details now. Also, Sven left us already, but this is one of the things that we should pose regarding Horizon Europe, who can participate, especially in this European Innovation Council instruments. Okay, I can see people are leaving already. We're a little bit out of our timing, so also we have, and I personally have another meeting at 1 o'clock, so I think we should slowly finish. People are leaving already. If there is any particular question, please pose it, but then we'll have to slowly finish the event. I hope you enjoyed it and that you saw certain use of it. And of course, we'll go on with deepening this Green Deal issues in order to be successful there. Okay. And as I said before, all presentations will be on our webpage. Some are already.